Alright guys, this video is going to show you how to make a graph from a word problem. So first things first, let's go ahead and read our word problem. It says an object moves away from the starting point at 1 meter per second for 3 seconds, stops for 2 seconds, then moves back towards the starting point at 3 meters per second for 1 second. So the first thing that I would do, the easiest way to start out is to chunk this up into pieces. So we've got 3 different chunks in this one. So the first one, it says an object moves away from the starting point at 1 meter per second for 3 seconds. Okay? So the easiest way to start is to fill in your time, because that's really easy. We know we start with 1, we count up to 3. So X is always our time, so I'm going to go ahead and fill that in. So 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Okay? So that's my time. And now, since I know that it started at the starting point, so we call that our origin. Remember, it's 0, 0. I'm going to go ahead and fill in that distance for the first one. And since we're moving at 1 meter per second, I'm going to add a meter for every second that passes. So from here, we start at 0. 1 second passes, so I add a meter. Another second passes, so I add another meter. Another second passes, so I'm going to add another meter. Okay? And we know that we're adding our speed here because we are increasing our distance from the starting point. We're moving away from the starting point. Now, our next little chunk says that the object stops for 2 seconds. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead over here on the X, which is our time. It's always going to be our time, just like it is here on the graph. That's our X axis. So I'm going to add 2 seconds to my time, and I'm not going to start over. I'm just going to add 2 more to what I've already done. Now it says it stops for 2 seconds. So it's not moving, it's sitting still, so the distance is not increasing or decreasing. We're staying at the same distance from the starting point. Okay? So I'm not going to add or subtract from my distance right now. So it's going to stay 3 meters away from the starting point for 2 seconds, just like it says up here. It stopped for 2 seconds. Okay? And then the last thing that it does is it moves back towards the starting point at 3 meters per second for 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, fill in my time. I'm adding 1 more second to what we've already been measuring. And it's got my speed as 3 meters per second. Okay, so I know that I'm moving backwards. I'm moving closer to the starting point. So my distance is going to decrease this time. So my distance is already 3, and my speed is 3. So I'm going to subtract that 3 meters from where I already am. So I'm moving back towards the starting point, and my distance is decreasing. Okay, so my speed tells me how fast I'm going, and it's telling me how far I move every second. So I know that I move 3 meters in that 1 second, and I move backwards. So I know that I'm subtracting that 3 meters, so I'm at 0 now. So I'm back at the starting point. Okay? Now, once I've done that, I'm going to be able to draw my graph. All right? So I'm going to try and color code it so it makes a little bit more sense for y'all. I'm going to go ahead and create my coordinate points. You don't have to do this, but I'm doing it to help make sure we understand each other. Okay? So this is my first coordinate point. It's 0, 0. And that was really easy. We start at 0, 0. The next one is 1, 1. So I'm going to go over 1 and then up 1. Remember, the X goes this way. So this is our X axis. The Y's go this way. That's our Y axis. So I go over 1 and then up 1. And the same thing here for the next one. My coordinate point is 2, 2. So I'm going to come over to my graph. I'm going to go over 2 and I'm going to go up 2. And then the next one is 3, 3. So I'm going to come over to my graph. I'm going to go over 3, up 3. I'm going to draw my points so I know what I'm doing. My next point is 4, 3. So I'm going to go back to my graph. I'm going to go over 4, up 3. And then my next point is 5, 3. So I'm going to come over to my graph and go over 5, up 3. And then my last point is 6, 0. Okay. So I am going to write that coordinate point. And then I'm going to come over to my graph and I'm going to go over 6 and I'm not going to have to go up or down at all because I'm already at 0. Okay? So the last thing that I'm going to have to do is come over here and draw my line on my graph. So I'm going to connect all these points to make my line. I'm going to go through the blue ones, then to the red one, and then back down to the purple one. Okay? So now, just to tell that story again while we're tracing over the graph, the object moves away from the starting point at 1 meter per second for 3 seconds. It stops for 2 seconds, and then it moves back towards the starting point at 3 meters per second for 1 second. So we've got everything we need on our graph, we've drawn our points, and we've connected them with our line. And that's it.